Sean Durzi is incoming. Today's show is all about the defense because there's so much going on. Durzi's returning, and today's trade target, all about the D on the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast.
You are Locked On Utah Hockey Club, your daily podcast on the Utah Hockey Club, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in once again, everyone. It's time for the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. I'm veteran NHL voice Tom Callahan, joined by longtime team analyst Robyn Leaño. We are the dynamic duo that covers Utah Hockey Club for you every single day. Thanks for making us your first listen. When it comes to the UHC, we love talking about the team, and we got some big-time news on today's show. Yes, Sean Durzi is finally on his way back. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about his impact and what kind of ripples, shall we say, it's going to send through the defensive depth, because this is the first time all year, Robyn, and it's even going to ripple through to today's trade target when we get to that. They have not, Utah Hockey Club, since day one, they have not been fully healthy. This is crazy. It is February 19th, as people are seeing this show. There's 2.5, 3 weeks to the NHL trade deadline, and they're finally getting healthy.
It is absolutely amazing, Tom, that we're finally at this point, right? This is the moment we've all been waiting for, right? Waiting for this level of healthy, for Sean Durzi to be back, for John Marino to be healthy, for all these other, and to me, I'm like, all right, now we can finally drudge this blue line. Yeah, I mean, I'd say I would give it a week or so, but at face value.
Well, and this is the thing, right? We're in a position, and by we, I mean Utah Hockey Club. This is the royal we. I'm talking organizationally.
Yeah.
Man, you don't want to evaluate that fast. You got a couple games of Durzi at the beginning.
Yeah.
But you've never had Durzi along with Sergachev, along with Marino, and now some, quite frankly, new moving parts and pieces. Valimaki and Mata are, at Four Nations, and what kind of experience did they pick up there? Even though they didn't make it through to the final with Team Finland. Will that change their game? Will it make them better? But then you've got all the other acquisitions, the Bortuzos, the Coles, the DeSimones, so much going on. And Robyn, to your point, and this is what I wanted to say, you don't want to make that evaluation in 3 weeks, but you have to.
You have
to make some potentially franchise-altering decisions in the next 3 weeks based on what you're about to see here for the first time with a healthy decor. Who fits with who fits into your plans, who might no longer fit into your plans, who might have grown into them. That's a lot of pressure on everybody involved.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And to put all of that, knowing what this Utah Hockey Club squad has been through over the last few months, Tom, we're going through all those injuries, facing all of them, and having to pick up, I either whether via call-ups or via waiver wire pickups or trades or whatever, all these new defensemen mid-season who have made those big impacts, and now all of a sudden we have a whole new defense than the one that we were judging and we were predicting going into the season, despite the top defensemen still remaining the same, but now being officially fully healthy.
Remember how excited we were in training camp?
What times those were?
Oh my goodness. We were so excited in training camp. We were saying to ourselves, isn't this going to be cool? Isn't this going to be great? Look at what they did. They built this awesome defense. We've never seen it. Never seen it. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. Mm-hmm. I'm very excited that we're finally going to get to see it. And at least, Robyn, we do get to see it before the deadline. But now this really, I think, impacts a lot of things going forward. Look at how different this decor is from again, it bears repeating, especially if you're new, or maybe you're just kind of jumping on late to Utah hockey. Coming out of Phoenix, when this team left the desert, they had no defensemen. They had nothing. So heading into the draft, we assumed they were going to draft and build defensively. They didn't.
Mm-hmm.
They made a big trade, went out and got Sergachev, brought him in, went out and got Marino, brought him in, then went out and signed Cole. They also then, brought a few other folks on board and then made the decision of who they were going to bring back, which defenseman they wanted back. And so then you go into training camp and Marino gets hurt and doesn't play the entire first half of the season. So you lose him right away. Durzi plays a handful of games, gets hurt. He's only just now coming back. So it necessitated you going out and getting Oli Mata. It necessitated you going out and getting Robert Bortuzzo and Nick DeSimone and having to make these deals. So they're kind of building the plane while they're flying it this season.
Mm-hmm.
So to have that in the background, Robyn, I'm going to ask you, once we start to talk here about this, I mean, Sean Durzi coming back, impact. How do you summarize that?
I think it's a tough one because it's definitely to me, I think it's season altering, right? Because there's going to be some major shifts in how we're going to see this defense operate just by having one player back. Because all of a sudden, and we're going to get into it, Tom, but all of a sudden we're going to see some major changes in who these pairings are and who's going to be best going up to. Because this is the conversation you and I had going into the season during training camp, kind of speculating what the pairs would be then, because there were some things like me like saying, hey, I don't want two offensive defensemen on the same pair kind of situation, right? So, and now we're going back to this, but with a restructured defense with new players all of a sudden involved, it really does change things.
And it really, it depends too, how fast. Look, it's hard. I don't care what you've been doing in practice. It is hard to jump into a game and be up at game speed right away. So number one, I'm not giving like hardcore judgments on Durzi the first week or two, but into March, I want to see how quickly he's acclimated. But the other thing too, and to your point, Utah, this is going to be a boon for special teams. We'll talk about 5-on-5, but special teams gives them additional power play capabilities. It makes them really two solid units now deep, in my opinion. Whereas I don't think they were with him out of the lineup. I think they definitely had a 1 and a 2, and the 2 could sometimes hit. But a couple of things. Josh Doan has gotten better and had a great little break in Tucson in the American League. So good for him. And seeing him now, kind of starting to emerge and be able to play some top 6 minutes and potentially be a top power play guy for the foreseeable future. Well, what does that do? That gives you a glut of talent, I think, up front, which is what this team has always had, that now bumps down to your second power play squad. So make your decision. Do you want to go Durzi, Sergachev, 2 defensemen on that top power play unit? You can, you don't have to. You could still go 4-1, and then you can move Durzi onto the second power play unit, go 4-1 there if you want. There's a lot of possibilities. Killing penalties. This opens up. Really, we don't see Sergachev's not much of a PK guy, but everybody else is. And so now you have another guy in Durzi who can skate, can move the puck, smart, intelligent defenseman, can serve some of those PK minutes, although I don't know if he's going to right away coming back. I don't know how heavy Andre Tourny wants to load him with minutes. But Robyn, I think that the special teams impact is going to be huge. And that's a war that Utah hasn't often won this year. And I think they've lost games because of it.
They really have. And and to your point about kind of like, not rushing in Durzi to all these minutes, I will say this, we said the same thing, and I'm not going to lead these same expectations, but we said the same thing about John Marino, and John Marino all of a sudden jumped in and I mean, it took maybe a game or two, but he jumped in pretty quickly and is, a pretty heavy load of minutes lately, right? Pretty quickly, very quickly took a heavy load of minutes. I'm not saying we should do the same thing for Durzi, because I mean Durzi's been out the state of Durzi's injury, I feel like, is what I think has a decent amount of people concerned what it was. But I mean, hey, we're at this point, it's anyone's guess how quickly he will acclimate back into game speed.
And he's been skating for a while. And,
Mhm.
you know, if you have your legs under you, it's easier to get into those minutes. But here's the other thing. Mata has been a minutes horse. Sergachev has been a minutes horse. Marino has been a minutes horse. And Durzi will presumably be able to once again become a minutes chomping horse. Ian Cole, on occasion, can eat some high volume of minutes, but that's something you want him to do every once in a while. He's still capable of it. But so, which is great, because now defensively, with all the depth that you have, I just named you 5 guys who are capable of stepping up in roles and playing a solid number of minutes every single night.
5
Two
guys
things.
out of 6 defensemen that
Right.
you can have on the active, you know, on not more than 6 on the active roster, but 6 are usually dressed, sometimes 7. But
Yes, we do know that sometimes we like to go the old 7th D route, huh? But so Robyn, I guess then, well, you know what? Let's save this question, because when I go into this defensive depth reassessment, I wanna talk a little bit about this, because now how are we gonna redistribute those minutes? That's a big question we're gonna talk about here. And today's show is brought to you in part by Wonderful Pistachios. Are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Well, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you keep fuller longer. You know what? I do like to crack the shells sometimes, but honestly, if I'm going to pick, I'm going no shells, because number one, you just grab the bag, you go, you don't have to worry about the shells. And I like to snack at work. I'm a big snack at work guy, because the nature of my job is lunch is never at the same time. You have to kind of grab a handful here and go when you can. So I really like the no shells version, because I don't have to worry about the mess, and I am a messy person also. But you know what? If you love cracking open the shell, if that's like a good stress reliever for you, Ian Shells, classic favorite, can't beat it. So Wonderful Pistachios, complete protein, all 9 essential amino acids, and these little green wonders pack a protein punch. So easy to take with you, whether you're running between meetings or dropping off the kids, maybe even. Wonderful Pistachios are the snack that works as hard as you do. Get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Now I want some Wonderful Pistachios, Robyn. I think it would be rude to eat on camera and snack mid-show, but if I could, I would. So
no,
that's just
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Yeah. And some people would just say, nuts to you, Tom. So dad jokes, got a million of them. Come for the hockey, stay for the dad jokes, or leave because of the dad jokes. All right, Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño here with you. If you like the dad jokes, give us a subscription, please. Follow along. Give us the old thumbs up. I don't know. We're a little zany sometimes, but you know, it's fun. We enjoy doing the show. That's really the bottom line. We love talking about the Utah Hockey Club. We love hockey. Robyn puts up with me.
Yeah. I feel like I feel like not only that, I feel like everyone puts up with the both of us, because the level of banter you and I have together, it's just fantastic.
Well, you know, here's the thing, Robyn, and this is what differentiates us as a show. Okay, like you know what you're talking about. I know what I'm talking about. That's not the point. I think a lot of people do. It's once you've been around hockey long enough, there are just things you learn and you understand, and you know we can all relate those things. But the difference is we're not real talking heads. You know what I mean? You know, we're a little more personable and approachable, and you know, people reach out to us on social media all the time. I don't know. I like to think we're a little bit more accessible to the everyday person. And plus, I mean, I don't mind talking to the absolute beginners. I love bringing people into the sport of hockey.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, you and I have a decent amount of roots covering minor league hockey, right? And I think
Yes.
that's huge because like covering, if you somehow make it, and you're in like day one, you're talking to these people who have been in the NHL for so long, and they can get up there. But for us, it's like, yeah, we've been covering the NHL, but we have those roots in the AHL and lower level leagues, and to us, I think that humbles us a little bit because we'll actually meet fans, we'll do all that, we talk with people, and it just, I feel like it helps us feel that extra connection, and I think that's what we try to do here too. We try to bring that little bit extra human element to you all.
I agree. Absolutely. And again, we thank you for watching the show, for supporting us, supporting our sponsors. It means a lot. So thank you so much for that. All right, Robyn, I do want to get to this defensive depth reassessment. So as of right now, with the return pending, so let's talk about the defensemen. Okay, here's what we've got right now. So Robert Bortuzzo, Ian Cole, Nick DeSimone, these are in alphabetical order, Michael Kesselring, John Marino, Oli Mata, Mikhail Sergachev, and Juuso Välimäki. So that's 8. Okay. Notice Sean Durzi not on that list. 9. Once he is active and is expected to play. That was the other thing too. I don't know if we actually mentioned that or not, but straight from the words of the HCAT himself, head coach Andre Tourney, yes, he's going to play. So right. that is set in stone. I don't know.
He will play this Saturday. Yes,
absolutely. He will be out there on the ice. So now you're at 9. Number 1, that's fantastically deep. But number 2, Robyn, and we can kind of actually wrap this in with my today's trade target, because you can't keep 9D. You can't. Like, something's got to give. So
there needs to be a level of restructuring, because at that point, like, it's, there's only so much you can do, right? 9Ds is way too much.
And we've already lost Kolyachonok on waivers. Not unexpected. He was going to get picked up, a good little player, but that would have been 10. So now you're at 9. This puts Bill Armstrong in a position of 3 weeks before the NHL trade deadline, having something that is coveted at the deadline, and that is defenseman to go. But Robyn, so out of all of those players we just talked about, I mean, for you, let's start with your prognostications here. What do you think? What's going to happen?
I mean, at this point, I feel like it's, it does make sense to, and especially with the trade deadline coming up, to explore what these opportunities are, who's going to, like, it's A, who provides the most value of a defenseman you can trade away, but B, not trading away someone who has been who you see as a huge integral part of the team, more of an integral part of the team this year and in the few years to come. So if you're taking a look at players who absolutely are going to be here to stay, Sergachev is here to stay, Durzi is here to stay, Marino is here to stay, Välimäki and Mata are here to stay. I'd already named 5, kind of the same 5 that you've already mentioned, like, some of the 5 that you've already mentioned previously. I think last I checked, Bortuzzo is still on IR, but that kind of doesn't really, that puts in a factor. Nick DeSimone has played amazingly well since joining the squad. And it just leaves a couple of players out left. And to me, I think if I think value, Tom, I might be looking at, today's trade target, and we'll get, which we'll talk about obviously at pretty extensively the next segment, but Ian Cole.
So, Robyn, as I take a look at this, and we can kind of pop that graphic up. Yes, surprise, Ian Cole is today's trade target. And we're going to come back. We're going to talk about that. And actually, I've got some numbers too that I want to throw in just to confuse things further, because why not? So, all right, let's get to that here in just a minute. Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño here with you on the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you being here. Please give us a like, a follow, a subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the thumbs up. It's good for the algorithm for both of us. Get you more hockey content, and it helps us rise higher and higher and get us in front of other Utah Hockey Club loving fans as well. So thank you for doing that. Robyn, I do want to pop up again. Today's trade target is Ian Cole for me. And here, let me further convolute things with some numbers. So this is thanks to our friends over at Puckpedia. Right now, the 7 defensemen on the cap are 43% of the cap. This does include Shea Weber, $7.87 million. Pardon me. But so Weber, we know that's long-term IR, that's dead space, whatever, that's pushed off to the side. So, okay, here's what you're looking at contract-wise. Sergachev, 8.5 through 27-28. Durzi, 6 through 27-28 million, by the way. John Marino, 4.4 million through 26-27. So those 3 defensemen are the long-term contracts, okay? 4 more seasons, including this one, I'm counting 24-25. Sergachev and Durzi, and then Marino this season plus 2 more 3 seasons at 4.4. Here is what is expiring. This is where the numbers get interesting. Bortuzzo, who's still on IR, 775, 35-year-old right shot defenseman, veteran guy, serious playoff experience, Cup, love it. Olli Mata, Cup, $3 million. Ian Cole, Cup, $3.1 million. All those are expiring this year. Nick DeSimone, by the way, 775, another value guy at 30 years old and a right shot defenseman, 775 expiring this year. You have 4 expiring defensive contracts this year. The other 2 that still have a year after this on them, Välimäki is at $2 million. He's only 26. He's a left shot. Kesselring, 25, right shot, 1.4 million. So to me, I think based on contracts alone, Robyn, Ian Cole, and out of all those guys I mentioned, I'm not hurt by any of them. Ian Cole, I love. I think he's a fantastic veteran blue liner who brings a ton of experience. He's a rugged guy. And Olli Mata, only 30 years old, is a left shot if you need that, $3 million. So those 3.1 and 3 million, if I'm restructuring the defense, those are probably the primary guys that I figure someone else is going to come after. But now I'm asking myself, and I think Ian Cole's my number one. Like if I'm looking at Utah Hockey Club and I want a veteran defenseman for a cup run, absolutely, I want Ian Cole.
Oh, absolutely. The amount of value that he provides for cup, team is like for a cup competing team, I should say, is huge, right? I mean, he's provided a decent amount of just, I would say, the balance and depth for this Utah Hockey Club defense that, as we talked about over the course of the majority of this season, has been fairly broken, and he's been a pretty stable piece. Sometimes he'll have some really good, as you mentioned, those, and can be a minute horse. He won't do it all the time. It's because Olli Mata will more, Sergachev will more, but I think that you get somebody who is that level of a workhorse, any kind of team that wants to compete will want to pick him up.
And I think he and Mata both represent some serious value because it's late in the season. It's a prorated salary. You're not taking a lot of risk with those guys because you know what they bring to the table. And again, Mata or Cole, if you want to retain him, you might have to give him a year or 2. Mata, you could see yourself giving 4 years, I think, to an Olli Mata if you acquire him and want to keep him along after this year. So those are things to be considered for those players. Robyn, do we agree or do we not agree? Maybe we don't. To me, your 6 keeper D, I think, and I don't actually, I'm going to say 5 keeper D, the meaning just who I think you're going to still have.
Yeah.
Not that I wouldn't trade any of these guys, because my phone would always be warm. I'll listen to your offer. Sergachev, Durzi, Marino, I think we're keeping. And
Absolutely.
then honestly, I think your Valimaki Kesselring at 26 and 25 are future cornerstones that you want to keep around. Plus, you have another year under contract. So now you decide DeSimone, Bortuzzo, Mata, or Cole, who's your sixth that I would keep. Or would you argue to keep two or maybe even three of the expiring defensive contract guys?
I think I think definitely with you on the five that you mentioned too, right? I think especially at their age, right? They're going to provide so much value for Utah in the long run. And I think that's what we need to focus on, right? How much value are they going to have in the longer run? Also, I mean, now, of course, we want this team to compete. We want this team to be a playoff team by, I mean, I would definitely see them be like right there at the doorstep next season. And those two players, if they're youth and only going to get better, they provided they did a good enough. I mean, Valimaki, just coming back from representing Team Finland in the Four Nations, right? That's a huge amount of experience to get. So I say you keep those, but if I'm even going to think about keeping any of the expirings, yeah, I mean, maybe only like I can only imagine we keep one of those, like down the road.
And for the sake of cap flexibility, and this is the thing, not everybody, look, just because teams may want Ian Cole, teams may want Olli Mata, does not mean they're going to agree on a deal, right?
Yeah.
Because those names will be out there.
Oh yeah, of course. I think at the end of the day, what's going to happen, and this is kind of, and I made this point earlier this week, the point of these trade target, segments in the episodes are really to kind of put it out an exercise and saying, all right, this is not necessarily who we want to see get traded or who we think Utah will trade. It's who are players that other teams will be calling for. Yeah, that's the big. Absolutely. That's what this is going to be. That's what this is.
Well, we've got one more day. So here are our four so far: Lawson Krause, Karel Vejmelka, Nick Bukestad, Ian Cole. So Robyn and I will have one more for you coming up here before we get back to live NHL action on Saturday. Robyn, we also will have a Four Nations final preview coming up here. Canada versus USA. I think we saw this coming. We saw this coming. Although Sweden, I'm glad they didn't play the USA till the end. Let's just say that. I think Sweden would have gained some confidence from that game. So it's a good thing it was over. But it's been an entertaining tournament. And here's the other thing, Robyn. Now we get to look back. And even before we hit the final game, I mean, we'll get to look back at what our thoughts were going into it versus what we've actually seen. And we can talk about that too. So,
I mean, I already put out an episode admitting my, how wrong I was. And I'd like to kind of get your pick your brain about it. And kind of we'll and we can even do like a whole post tournament thing, because I only mentioned it going, what we're most of the way through round robin specifically after Team USA versus Team Canada, but we will definitely have a lot more to get to. That's for sure.
Yes, absolutely. We will. So, all right, everybody. Well, thank you very much for tuning us in. Robyn, if they want to bug us on social, you're not bugging us, folks. Seriously, reach out to us. If they want to get us on social media, where can they find us?
They can find us everywhere. We are on Instagram, Threads, and X at LO_NHL Utah. Also on Blue Sky and on TikTok at Locked On Utah Hockey. You can find me personally at Robyn_Leaño on X. Also at Robyn Icetime on Blue Sky.
I am on Blue Sky 99% of the time at Tom Talks. If you want to reach out to me there, that is the absolute best place to get me. And of course, if you are on the YouTube side, I mean, follow the channel along. That's the best way to get a hold of us here. You can drop comments below the video. We do check those comments, and we love hearing from you as well. So thanks for checking us out, everybody. And again, we're going to talk to you about Four Nations coming up here soon as well. And we have one more of today's trade targets to get to before we get back to it. And looking forward to the end of the week. Why? Because we're back to some NHL action as well. Thanks for joining us for the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast.